There are three attitudes that Nehemiah models for us today that you need to have in place if you want God to rebuild your life or your church. And these three attitudes are right here in these words. He mourned, he fasted, and he wept and prayed. Attitude number one is this. We must first have an attitude of holy discontent. Write that down on your note sheet. We must have an attitude of holy discontent. If I'm going to ever change my life and move it in a godly direction, then I first have to feel deep down in my bones holy discontent. I've got to be fed up with the way things are in my life. The sensation that something is wrong and it must change and it's got to be changed now. And out of that sense of strong discontent, what happens is people begin to change and entertain the thought of changing. But it has to be holy discontent. You know, some people feel discontent with their lives, but it's not holy. It's unholy. They feel such disgust with their lives that they immediately launch into behaviors that are self-destructive. They fall into depression. They turn to alcohol or drugs. They resort to violence against themselves or to others. They start throwing their body around, seeking sexual satisfaction somehow, something to deaden the pain. Holy discontent is when we use that disgust we're feeling in our lives right now, and we use it as fuel to move in a good and godly direction. How do we come by this? How do we feel holy discontent in our lives? Well, back in verse 2, when Nehemiah's brother Hanani comes to him from Jerusalem, Nehemiah writes this, I questioned them about the Jewish remnant that survived the exile and also about Jerusalem. And I want you to notice those words. I questioned them. Holy discontent comes when we begin asking honest questions about our lives. Change cannot happen until we have the guts to look in the mirror and to be ruthlessly honest with what's looking back at us, and to ask ourselves questions like, why is this happening? What has brought me to this place? Why do I keep struggling in this area? What am I doing that is leading to this outcome? Now, Nehemiah did not have to ask these questions. Nehemiah could have remained happily ignorant about what was going on back in his homeland. According to verse 1, we already commented on it. Where did Nehemiah live at first? He lived where? In the citadel of Susa. What's a citadel? It's a palace. He lived in the palace, a place that is secure and comfortable. You think Nehemiah had a good gig going on here? Being cupbearer to the king? Absolutely. His life was set. Easy Street. His address is Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills. He has no worries. Talk about your Hakuna Matata. This is Nehemiah at the start of this story. And you know what's interesting? Most of us, we spend our lifetimes trying to get to where Nehemiah is at. Don't we? Most people spend their entire lives attempting to build up their citadel, to get to a place where at last they say, I'm secure, I'm safe, I'm comfortable. My friends, you got to see this. Nehemiah was there. He was enjoying it. But he knew there was more to his life than this. He knew that God had a higher purpose for his life than just for him to be rich, just for him to be comfortable, just for him to have his needs met. And so Nehemiah did something very courageous. He chose to ask these questions. He didn't have to. I sat down and wept, he said. Holy discontent flooded into his soul. That meant that Nehemiah was onto a life change. And my friends, listen to me. Some of you are right here where Nehemiah was at. Until you feel holy discontent with your life, you cannot change. You will not change. You'll remain stuck in place.